Welcome back to another episode of Uncut and Uncensored. And I have been so looking forward to today, I can't tell you. I am joined by the amazing Hilaria Baldwin, who's an entrepreneur, author, wellness expert, co-host of the Mum Brain, and also the co-founder of Yoga Vida in New York, where Hilaria lives in New York with her husband, Alex, and their 7 children.
I was 27 when we met, and he was very focused that he was like, I need to know if we want to have kids. And I was like, I assume I do.
My current husband, because we actually have the same age gap.
I love that you just called him your current husband.
And he's in the room.
How awkward. Calling anyone a gold digger is never a positive thing. You know, there are relationships where people have different roles. And I would never go and be like, wait, how much is this person making versus this person making? Are they a gold digger? I don't believe that age is just a number, at least in our situation. Like, I think that there's certain things where I have to look at him and say, he has 26 more years of experience. And sometimes that's a flex. And sometimes that means that we need to do a little therapy.
And other people wanted to know how you do homework with 7 children.
The homework I struggle with, so I was diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia when I was little. And I love now that people are talking about this kind of thing a lot more, because these things can be superpowers. When we were doing the first season of our reality show, we started filming 2 weeks before Alec went to trial. And I didn't really, neither one of us really were such in survival mode at that point that neither one of us really, it didn't clock to us.
What advice would you give women going into maybe more of these kind of age gap relationships?
Have the uncomfortable conversations. As I said before, I don't believe that age is just a number. I cannot expect him to be 41. He cannot expect me to be 67. But we can unite through our differences, just as you would unite through differences that any relationship is going to inevitably have with 2 different people.
Welcome back to another episode of Uncut and Uncensored. And I have been so looking forward to today, I can't tell you. I am joined by the amazing Hilaria Baldwin, who's an entrepreneur, author, wellness expert. You were the co-host of the Baldwin's reality show on TLC, which I'm a massive fan of, got to add that. Co-host of the Mum Brain, a weekly podcast on parenting, currently ranked top 10 in the category. Author of Glowing Up, The Living Clearly Method, Healthy Mind, Joyful Life, and also the co-founder of Yoga Vida in New York, where Hilaria lives in New York with her husband, Alex, and their 7 children. I mean, I just have to start there. I have to. 7. Yes. What were you
7.
thinking?
I wasn't thinking. We just, I met Alec, and I was 27 when we met. And he was very focused that he was like, I need to know if you want to have kids. And I was like, I assume I do. I didn't really think about it that much. I was the 27-year-old in New York is very different than maybe in a different place. You feel very young and sort of very at the beginning. And so we got married really fast. We got married when I was 28, and then I got pregnant when I was 28. And I was kind of freaked out, and I was like, what is this going to be like? I didn't do the parenting classes. I didn't do the birthing classes. And as soon as I gave birth, I was like, oh my God, I love this. It was going down the coolest water slide ever. And I was like, I want to do it again.
Oh my God. I mean, I've got 3, and my current husband, because we actually have the same age gap relationships, which we'll go into later. And he actually wants another one. I could think of nothing worse. And I
love that you just called him your current husband. Have you seen that trend?
I said my current husband. And he's in the room. He's
in the room. How awkward.
My new husband. How about that?
You mean your husband, the love of your life?
The love of my actual life.
The correct one. Yes. The one that you got right.
The one I needed, the one I've been looking for my whole life. Thank you for correcting me on that. Now back to you. So that is what I'm thinking is how and why. After 2 or 3, you didn't say. I mean, first of all, how old is Alec?
So Alec now is 67.
Yeah, I mean, he can't have been planning 7 children at this age.
Can I tell you, he'd have more. I'm the one who's no mas, no more. Thank you very much. He'd have more. I mean, look, we always said, a baby's always a beautiful thing. So the first one, have you heard that you can't get pregnant while breastfeeding?
No, I have not.
Lies. Lies. It's all lies. And I have many people to show that that is not a true thing. So I had my first, and then I found out a year later that I was pregnant with my second. And then after he was born, I found out 6 months later that I was pregnant with my third. So the first three happened really fast. And I don't know how about you feel because you have three, but I feel like once you get to three, it's like, oh, you know what? It's just chaos. With two, you can try to control. With one, you can still kind of try to control. Three is chaos. And so I was like, let's embrace the chaos. And so we just had a ton. And
I
that was that.
I have to say, I didn't know what to expect. And I turned on the show the other day because, obviously in the papers and things like that, you see just parts of people. And obviously doing what I do, I understand that's not completely a reflection of who they are.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I really, really fell in love with your family just watching the chaos because it's the dogs too, and the shitting on the carpet and his Persian rugs. And Alec, I've got to be honest, he looks like he needs to go to a retreat and turn off his phone for about a year in silence.
Yes, absolutely.
and like recompose himself.
I support him in that journey. I wish he would sometimes, but no, he's right. And he takes them to school every morning.
I,
Like he's like, I'm here for it.
no, it's
Um,
amazing. It's amazing
yeah,
to watch. And, because I have three dogs. I have three. And I had a big house in the countryside in my first marriage. And I sort of wanted to I'm a bit like you said. I wanted something smaller that we were all together in. And
yeah.
now I'm building something bigger again. And now I'm already thinking about more dogs. How many dogs can I fit into that house?
Hmm, hmm.
And, it's on the beach, so I won't care as much. And I thrive on chaos. And you're right. There will be a stage. I'm not envious of the stage you're in right now. I've got to be honest. When I watch the pizza fall on the floor and the dog
Yeah.
shit on the carpet and you're all like running around, and I'm thinking I can imagine Alex's life growing up as a really famous, sexy actor pre you, and
Hmm.
everything was completely neat and tidy in his perfect Manhattan house. How he must walk in going, what the fuck has happened to me?
Right.
But in such a
Hmm.
great, hilarious way now.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because it was such a choice that he had. I mean, and it's so funny because I mean, again, as you said, so much of what is written about people is not reality. And I mean, it was kind of like people will be like, "Oh, she wanted to go and have all of these kids and this and this and this." And I mean, I would say as much as we both chose together, like in many ways, he was the instigator of a lot of it as well. And I think it was, he grew up one of six kids. So
Oh
he's
yeah.
he's the second oldest of six. And he had the very notorious, complicated situation with his previous wife and with Ireland. And so I think he wanted a chance to do it in a different way, and make different choices. And so I do feel like that was, much of what we've done has been, well thought out for him for many years. But at the same time, the chaos and the poop on the rug, although my dogs are very good now, trained them, very good. Update, not pooping on the rug anymore. But like, I mean, there is the stresses of everyday life, but ultimately we always remind ourselves there's such beauty to it, and it was very well thought out.
I do. I mean, look, I have, I've obviously done this polls and things and questions on you, and you're a very diverse character for people. But as was
Mm,
I, as soon as you're on reality TV or you put yourself out there or you have a younger husband or whatever, you're always a gold digger. You're always looking
yeah,
for something. My husband had that with me, and there wasn't particularly a pot of gold. So, there may be now, but when we met, I was getting divorced and all of these things, but people love to think the worst of anyone. And,
yeah,
I don't think that's you can see you have a great banter if you watch the show. You can see there's a lot of connection and love between you. And, you're always going to get the haters because mostly it's women against women, and that happens.
yeah.
There's a lot of controversy I mean, I think the other biggest question I had was about your accent and
Hmm.
the Spanish accent and the children. Those were the two main questions. Like, and
Yeah.
people are fascinated by you.
I've over the years, I've done it with like a lot of humor. Like, well, first I like to do things with understanding. Like anytime somebody says something about me, I like to like look inward and be like, is there something I'm doing something I can change? Is this a positive? Is this a positive thing that I can learn from it to better myself? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Calling anyone a gold digger is never a positive thing, like ever, never. There are relationships, regardless of people's economic bracket, where people have different roles. One person stays home and, and the other person works. Two people bring in incomes and they're different. And I would never like go and be like, wait, how much is this person making versus this person making? Are they a gold digger? That's it's a strange thing to do, right? That's number one. So I'm always aware that my life is a caricature, and anybody who's in the public eye is like a caricature of what people's lives are at home. So as much as like I'll, like to laugh at myself and make jokes and stuff like that, I also realize that whatever message I'm putting out there is helping shape our culture and how women speak to each other, right? So, I mean, at the beginning, like, of course, I'd want to be like, yeah, what would I think of a 27-year-old yoga instructor marrying a rich and famous man? You know what I mean? Like, sounds weird. And especially who's older, like, sounds like you can put it that way.
But my view is, why not you?
Correct. What? No, exactly. No. I mean, obviously, like I've, been in a relationship for 15 years. I have a ton of kids. I've stood with him and he stood with me through the hardest of times. Mm-hmm. Our relationship is what it is. And again, I'm not going into people's lives and be like, how much money does this person make versus you? I also think that there is, and like so many people will write to me sometimes, like not so many people, a few trolls that seems like always bigger than it is, will write to me sometimes and be like, you need more time in your hands, go to work. I've written 3 books, one with my daughter. I've been on TV shows. I've had a reality show. I've been on Dancing with the Stars. I've done so much stuff. I've done tons of influencing things. I've had a hit podcast. Like, when is it enough to say this girl is going and working her butt off? I am a working mom too.
Now, I actually don't think you would be able to win regardless, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the thing. But like, even just looking at it a little, I just started thinking about that recently, because it's like when people will say that to me, I'm like, I do work. Like, what do you think I'm doing? Like, I do work.
And I just read your bio. I was exhausted. All I could think as I read it was, how the hell do you bring up 7 children and do that?
Well, I mean, that's my village. So that was like the first thing. So I like to like poke fun. I also like, my favorite thing is like, I feel like if you are a gold digger, I wrote this in my book, if you're a gold digger, like, don't have 7 kids because they're very expensive. Like, it's like not the right way to do it. You know what I mean?
I actually think you're doing it the right way. I've got to be honest. Like, Sergio and I do the same thing as you. We lean into it. We actually do Diaries of a Sugar Mama, because people think I only, I just feed him, money every day and he lies around my house doing absolutely nothing. The same thing. So we actually we do TikToks on it.
Right.
Diary of a Sugar Mama, and just have fun with it, because that's what people want to see, right? They want to see that because that makes people feel more comfortable.
Right. Obviously. That's interesting. What's your age difference?
We're 20. I know you're 30, right?
20. We're 26. So
26.
Similar.
So yeah. Very similar. And,
do you know what? It is what it is. Like, I don't believe that age is just a number, at least in our situation. Like, I think that there's certain things where I have to look at him and say, he has 26 more years of experience. And sometimes that's a flex. And sometimes that means that we need to do a little therapy. And I think the thing is that you can't please everybody no matter what. Like, that's just what it is. You can't please everybody no matter what. And I think that is a big lesson for me. I mean, I'm 41 now. And I think that is a gift that I've heard that women enter when they're in their 40s, is like kind of just being like, you know what? And that's a beautiful thing, for your relationship, I believe, is like, what you want. And there's probably a confidence that you have now that is extremely sexy and extremely just comforting. Whereas the ups and the downs and the insecurities that we often have when we're younger and not knowing ourselves, I think that is only a gift that comes with age. So I love that, you're serving as an example for for women, stepping into their power.
And I also don't like, look, I think everyone comes from different backgrounds and, yes, he was more established, so what? But he chose you and that's it. My husband was 24 when I met him and he, although obviously I'm not no way as famous as Alec, but he had to deal with some shit at
Yeah,
24 being with a 43-year-old, right? It wasn't like
right,
he was obviously gay. He obviously needed money.
right.
He obviously needed these things, right? And he only knew who I was. I'm like, he was from Spain and he was 23 years old. I mean, Housewives wasn't really on his like playlist.
Right.
So there were so many things like that. And it's almost bullying, which is actually the only reason I brought up the Spanish accent thing that I
Wait,
get asked.
he's
Yeah.
from Spain?
Yes, he's Spanish.
Where?
Madrid.
Okay,
Madrid.
my nephew's going to university in Madrid. My nuclear family lives in Mallorca,
Right.
but my nephew, I'm sending him to school in
So
Madrid, and he's having like the best time.
this is where the accent comes from. Let's clear this up.
So, it's been cleared up so many times. So I think that the only people who question like my voice are people who maybe don't have either
Hmm.
by like another language experience, like on a serious
Yeah.
level, or don't, because it can happen between like even within English. Like one of my best friends is British and he's lived here and is married to an American and he's lived here for, 20 plus years and he goes back to England and people say he sounds American,
100%. You
right?
slide
It's
into,
normal.
yeah, it's very normal.
Right, it's normal. It's actually not only is it that's the way that the brain is wired, on a scientific level, it actually shows more empathy and connection. And people who don't do that this again is not from me, but they're, not, there was like a study saying that they're not as empathetic people. It's just a way of communicating. Now, for me, I can't believe that we got to a place where we're telling a woman that they don't like the sound of the voice and that makes her fake and that makes her this when she speaks two languages. And and maybe I was raised a little bit differently than Alec, who grew up on like one block and whatever. But at the same time, look, even Alec is from Long Island, which has a really, for those out there who don't know, has a really strong accent.
Very
And
strong
he
accent.
actively worked to get rid of his accent,
Hmm.
and that is applauded. Whereas for me, I turn to my kids, I'm going to talk to them in Spanish, and I'm going to turn to Alec, I'm going to talk to him in English, and I'm going to go back and forth all the time, all day long. And yes, I'm going to forget words, and yes, I'm going to get a little like this, but I'm doing two things. And I think that, again, it's stupid, silly things that people will pick at that are just kind of just
Mute
unnecessary.
points. I mean, you're absolutely right. I speak one language and you're completely right. And then we all have kids that go to summer camp or go across to the pond and come back with a different accent. That's
Yeah,
absolutely true. And I never even thought about that because obviously Sergio has that a little bit because he's full Spanish and then English is his second language and he still says things in Spanish accent. So I completely, once and for all, I think it's extremely clear. But those were the questions. And other people wanted to know how you do homework with 7 children and how
oh
you
God,
cook
I'm
for
so
seven
bad.
children.
Oh,
And,
okay.
I think
The
people are
cooking is
just,
easier than the homework. The homework I struggle with. So I was diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia when I was little.
oh, wow.
And so school was always, which also, by the way, when people like poke fun at me for like a forgetting a word or something like that, this also the distractibility of my mind and getting sort of stuck and freezing and forgetting things is actually just also a learning thinking difference. And I love now that people are talking about this kind of thing a lot more because it is, I do believe that in many ways these things can be superpowers and give us beneficial, voices in the world. But that means going back to the homework. See, that was like an ADHD moment, learning back, hooking back, bringing back to what your question was, is that um, with my kids going to school, I do find that I struggle with the homework with them, but I'm very determined. So, like, my daughter had a math test the other day, and I'm in bed with her until like 10 p.m. We both fall asleep like this on top of her books until 10 p.m. But she went to school the next day and she did really well. And it's harder for me to like maybe understand this concept of ratios. I can understand some of it. Some of it I was never very good at. We send them to a bilingual school, an immersion school, because the bilingualism is so important to me that, and for my nephew in Spain, we send him to a bilingual school so he could speak English too. Like it's just my family, we're into this, right? And, and I think that, it just requires a lot of time, discipline, and the desire for them to understand concepts, even when it's hard for me. Um, and it's not like Alec can do the homework with them that much because it's in Spanish.
So that's what I was going to say, like, I mean, I know how hard it's been just for me and working. You also have your wellness brand, the TV show. So let's just say the TV show, okay? The cameras move in. How did you find like doing this on top of raising the children? Because I know that like just having done, my children started on TV when they were 2. And they won't always play ball. Sometimes the kids enjoy it. Sometimes they don't want to. You and
Yeah.
Alec also have to do it. Obviously, you're in it. But, how do you manage having a normal family life, because it is just your family, keeping the kids and keeping your relationship together, because it's not easy.
It's not easy, and sometimes I get very overwhelmed. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes Alec and I will argue. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I think I look over my shoulders and I'm like, how am I where's the other adults here? Like I need some sort of, and then you realize I'm the mom. I'm the one that has to guide my children. And sometimes that can feel very overwhelming. Like when we were doing the first season of our reality show, we started filming 2 weeks before Alec went to trial.
Yeah.
And I didn't really, neither one of us really were such in like survival mode at that point that neither one of us really, like, it didn't clock to us that that's what was going to be like. And I look at the people who I got very close with who were doing the first season. And I said to them, I said, okay, we're going to break for us to go to this. And then we're going to resume in a few weeks once the trial's over. I said, but what if I don't bring him home?
Oh my
Like,
God, I can't
what do I
imagine.
do? No. I mean, it was like, I didn't know not only what our life was going to be, what was going to be like for our kids, what that was going to be for him, like what this very bizarre and malicious experience, was, but also
I have to be
that,
honest. Sorry, just very quickly, just for
yeah,
my 2 cents, because I followed that a lot. And I did something about it, just saying I couldn't even believe it got there for him. I was
yeah,
so heartbroken for you and for him for something like that. It was a tragedy all round, but
yeah.
he should never been prosecuted for something like
It
that.
was, yeah, no, it was a tragedy, and then unfortunately there are people who
Oh,
want
it's
to
terrible.
cause further harm. And
Yeah.
so, but like, with the reality show during that time, it was in some ways such a blessing because it allowed us to speak when the world was telling us not to speak.
Or did
Because
it
anything that,
keep you
what?
busy? It also kept you busy, I presume. Just your mind
It
off it,
it
because you
kept,
just like it until it was that.
no,
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 no.
no, no. I mean, my mind was very much on it, especially, I had to make decisions. I had to be the support for my husband at that time, because you can imagine. I mean, first of all, to be through the initial trauma that nobody can even possibly imagine, and to live with that every single day, and survivor's guilt and all of this kind of stuff that he will
Yeah.
deal with. But then on top of that, to then have all the added trauma of other people making the situation worse and not better, and knowingly doing so as
Yeah.
as it came out, you know what I mean, in a very corrupt way, which is why the trial ended, because it really showed an extreme level of corruption. But I think that what the reality show allowed me to do is it allowed me to feel like I could speak through it, because that you really suffer when you don't have an outlet. And when so many people are talking about you, to be able to show yourself, our family, my husband, the experience from the inside
Oh,
felt
and
very cathartic
in real time.
in real time.
Mm.
Like they have, I think it's, I forget the episode number, and I think it was either episode 3 or episode 4. My, I mean, it ended in such a crazy way. And we were going to break filming for 3 weeks. Our showrunner flew back ahead of us she was in LA. She flew back to New York and she waited on our porch with her cell phone. And we arrived so, like, you can just imagine, like, you just can't understand what's going on. And she's videoing us meeting our kids again.
Oh gosh.
And it was like, I didn't remember it very well. And I traveled with my oldest, my youngest, because my other 5 were in day camp. And I knew, like, it at least would. And my best friend came with me to help me take care of the kids while I was in the trial. And then I was, finishing breastfeeding at the time. My baby was teething. So after the trial at night, during the day, I'd be with my baby. She'd sleep and cry on me. I'm like doing like Tylenol and Motrin to try to like help her with the pain that she was having. And then the next day was again. And so I brought them, but I didn't have my other 5, and I'd never been away from them before. And so to have that, looking back and say, wow, what an experience to reunite with your kids was, it's like a diary during that time, a cathartic diary. So I'm very grateful for that show. And I think it helped me keep going during that time.
I have to say, you felt it a lot, and I can't even imagine. And like as I said, it's the not knowing. I'm sure as well for him, it must have been like when they read it out in court, and because I watched the whole thing, on TLC, and you could just see it's just nobody should have gone through that, and I can't even imagine for your children. But you're right, maybe this is something very cathartic for them later in life too, to be able to go back and watch this time.
Well, somebody asked me the other day, how do you protect your kids from the stuff that they're going to read? And goes for not just people like you and I who are in the public eye more, but for anyone. How do you protect them from stuff that they're going to see online, whether it be personal about us and our family or just horrible things that are happening in the world? And, I feel like in the past, I'm sure, interviews can surface or, try to have an answer for it. And at this point, I think that the answer is you can't, but you can process it with them. And I think that that's what I'm learning right now. And I again, who knows? We only know down the road whether, some of the decisions I'm making as a mom are right or not. But what I'm doing right now is just processing with them and sort of say, okay, well, you heard this. Let's talk about it. Not, oh, no, don't worry about that, or pretend because kids are smart. And so I think that the show, the way we go about things, we can't bubble wrap our kids, but we can give them the best possible understanding, and we can calm their nervous systems when it feels out of whack. And so that's just kind of the best that we can do. And I think, yeah, in the future, our kids haven't seen the show, but I think that if they want to see it, they can see very much from our side what was really happening.
Yeah, and that's an amazing thing. I have to say, it just made all my hair go on end. Like, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And I think, you come, look, Hilary, from everything I've read and seen, you come across incredibly articulate, incredibly smart, a good mum. And I think that's all we can do. And you've grown up under very harsh circumstances, and people are unkind. But, you seem to have kept your humor and you haven't let it make you bitter and break you. And I think that's super important for you, your family. And I think humor is one of the best things we can all have. And I'm sure you are coming out of an extremely dark, difficult time. And you should pat yourself on the back for that, for everything you've achieved. Because honestly, I'm just, you've done a wellness brand. Your children seem, albeit all over the place, incredibly, cute and adjusted. And your oldest daughter is the cutest. And I'm watching you because I certainly didn't manage to run my house like that at all. I, could not manage that many children and keep them washed and cleaned and fed and in school. So you should be proud of yourself for those achievements.
Yeah, well, thank you. That means a lot. I mean, we definitely, have our moments where I'm very much not getting it right. And then I have my moments where I'm like, okay, this is working. I mean, one of the things that I'm very proud of my kids is they're really kind. They're very empathetic. They're really good at helping. And, I mean, last night, I'll tell a bit of a personal story, is my eldest was having a hard time, and she said that she saw online somebody do a video about how she has, I forget exactly how she put it, but it was like kind of like that eldest child syndrome, that she has to do things and she has to whatever, and that she's being mistreated. And she says that she hated seeing that some random person would put together different clips and talk about it. And it just came up on the internet,
On her
right? It's not
feed.
something
Yeah.
she's looking for. And, so we processed it, and actually, I slept in bed with her last night because she was just really torn up about something that she had seen that was so personal. And I said, you know, I think that growing up, there is a feeling of developing responsibility, and there's a feeling of make your bed, clean your plate, help me with the dishes. Things that I believe as a mother are very important to teach my kids. And my kids are in charge of doing that. The baby's running over there. Can somebody grab her while I'm grabbing this other kid over here? You know what I mean? Or I'm carrying the groceries, and can you do I mean, all of these stuff, we work together. And I think that that's only makes my children not only prepared for the future, but also normal kids.
Yeah. I
You know
mean,
what I mean? Like, I grew up having to do these kinds of things.
I don't see a lot of help in the show. Do you have a lot of
I
help?
do, I have people helping,
Yeah.
but I don't have people helping me so we don't have to do
Right.
anything.
Yeah.
That's the real trick, because I think that would be a disservice to all of us. Yeah, we all work together. We say in our house, just like we have on our wedding rings, somos un buen equipo. We're a good team. We're a team in my house.
Right.
And the people who come in, who work with us, not for us, they work with us, is very important. The difference of saying that, that's a it's a privilege, and it's a beautiful thing. And it doesn't mean that we don't have to do our part. Doesn't mean if we spill something, we don't have to clean it up. And so that's kind of the way that I'm teaching my kids. But when she sees something like this, we process it. And I say to her, I think that you always have to remember you're a kid, but you're a kid who's developing just like any of the other kids are developing, and they're learning and they're growing. And part of that is taking on more and more in an appropriate way, so that when you get to a certain age, you can go out and you can start to live your own life. So, I mean, it really is something where, we very much are tight knit. We have our kids. Hopefully we're raising them in a way where they will be able to live happy lives where they can also take care of themselves. I mean, that's what we want. We want our kids to be able to spread their wings and fly.
I mean, that's the question. So, like, I know how much time because, obviously we all get mum guilt and all of this, and I work a lot and
Yeah.
travel a lot. So, how do you end up giving time for your relationship? What do you and Alec do to rekindle that? Because I don't care who you are, after 15 years and 7 children, it's not easy to keep that together and not, go nuts and just be about the kids.
Right. I mean, I think that it's hard. What we do is we talk a lot. I mean, if you look at like our phones, we talk like, I mean, my friends are always like, he's calling you again, like in a cute way. He's calling you again and again. Like, it's just to share things. We're in constant communication. We try to sit and have dinner every night, and that could be a bowl of cereal. Like, I downstairs that we're like so tired. I mean, do we have our hard moments? Do we have our normal like marital arguments? 100%. You know, that's I think extraordinarily common. But I think that it's the desire to both want to be there and to both want to make it work. And when you have that, I think you can go through anything together. And we understand, like when you have little kids, it's just now. They grow fast. They grow so fast. Like my youngest is 3 now. We don't have a baby anymore. Still call her the baby, but we don't have a baby anymore. It grows so fast. Carmen is 12. In a handful of years, she's probably going to be out the door. It goes so fast. And so, I mean, I think that it's just gratitude. When I talk to people who are older, they always say to me, I wish I had had more kids and I wish I'd spend more time with them. And so I always try to, live by that. I listen to people who are older than me and their wisdom, and I'm trying to learn from it.
And so, in the midst of all of this and putting your children on the right track, how are you now launching your yoga and wellness brand in the middle of this? Like, you have a team, or what made you decide? Is it because it's how you calm yourself, or it's something you do for yourself every day that you wanted to start this? Or
I mean, it's what I've always done. I was a yoga teacher
yeah,
before I met Alec. I mean, and it's our jobs, and your job, I assume, is very. It's almost like you're like an independent contractor,
yes,
and you have this specific thing. So you look at your schedule differently than if you have a 9 to 5, right? And sometimes that means I'm overnight, like creating at night, or when I'm writing my book, I'm, writing to all hours of the night. So sometimes it bleeds into other times. But I think it's just about trying to find the balance. When my kids are at school, I have 6 that are in school right now. And so I say, okay, I want to spend a portion of my day, if I can, with the baby that's home. I'll have Alec will be here maybe for a portion of the day. I have my nanny, so we can really sort of play around with that. She has like her little Gymboree classes that yesterday Alec took her to, and we just kind of tag team. But I do feel that I love to work. I love to work. I'm a Capricorn. I love to work, and I'm a creative person, and so I think that to stop doing that would not be my favorite choice.
I mean, I think it definitely is what feeds me, and I think it feeds, being able to pivot in our careers today and have many things going. I think is the only way to get through life today, and it's something I
Yeah.
try and teach women, no matter what. And you're a prime example, because no matter who you're married to, you should always maintain something for yourself.
I think so. I mean, to have some kind of, identity with it. Now, I have some of my friends are homemakers, and they're stay at home, and that is also a level of creativity, and beauty of what they are. They're creating an entire world for their world, which is their children. So, I mean, whatever choice that people make in terms of what's right for their personality, for their situation with their home and their finances and their wherever they live. I mean, that all has to do with the individual and what they decide is right for them. But, for me, I like to work and I like to be a mom. And so I'm trying to do both. Do I always do both in the most smooth way? I do not. But I have a sense of humor and I continue on and I try again.
But I think it's a very powerful conversation, because a lot of women lose their identity when they marry older, more powerful, more, or famous, or there's a lot of women out there that have just married powerful older men,
Yeah.
and sometimes lose their identity and give everything up for them. And was that a conversation you had with yourself to always maintain something for yourself? Because in this day and this world, nothing is taken for granted, right? It could, for whatever reason, something could be taken away from you. So was that always in the back of your mind when you did all these things, or that just because you wanted to have something so that you were building something for yourself always?
You're touching on something that I think I'm learning, and you just helped me to, I believe, articulate it in a way. So let's riff a little bit with this, because you're very wise. I think in many ways I did lose part of my identity when I married Alec. I think in many ways I did, and that was the not only other people talking about me for the first time on a very massive level in terms of the amount of stuff and people. And when people talk about, I posted this on my stories about today, and it felt so, very into what you're saying right now. Is this woman said, you need to be able to really articulate and know what your identity is, because otherwise you're gonna just get it from other people, because everybody's gonna have an opinion, and this is not a famous person who's saying this.
Yeah.
Like, again, we're all the same, regardless if we're famous, we're not famous, whatever. We're all this. We are all flesh and blood. We are all the same. We all have a nervous system. And so I think one of the things that I have not done well, and I'm trying very hard to do, although I have tried, I just haven't been able to do it in a way that feels as freeing as I'm hoping it will be, is no, this is who I am. This is who I am. And yeah, sure, people are going to talk, but I know, because I am such a people pleaser. I'm a recovering people pleaser. I want people to be pleased around me. I like people to feel warm and good and happy when they're with me and seen and listened to. But ultimately, when people come and they say these things about me, oh, you talk funny, or why you have so many kids, you marry this guy who's so much older, or you're this, you're that, I will internalize and I say, oh my God, is there something wrong with me? And I think the disservice that I've done to myself, therefore, as a example to my children, is I haven't been as clear as I should have been with myself of my identity. And I think that that is the gift that I'm getting now. That is the gift of the lemons that I'm turning into lemonade. That is all of these things that I do feel is my next chapter. People can say, this or that or the next thing. I cannot stop them, but I can know myself in a way that hopefully it won't give me that nauseous pit in my stomach that I've experienced so many times.
Well, you're not the only person to take this long to figure it out, put it that way. Most women take until they're 40 to figure it out. And I think, again, that is one of the number one thing for women, is understanding who they really are after children, in their marriage, growing up in the public eye, all of these things. So, it is an age old thing, but it's also, I think, having the strength at 26 to know who you are next to a man who really knows who he is.
Right. Well, yeah, no, I mean, I do think, yes, that, and I also think that he's constantly learning. I don't think we're ever done. I think as women, we are waiting to be invited. We're waiting to be included. And we know that one of the biggest harms that we can have is to be ostracized. And I think one of the beautiful things I've learned from Alec is that what comes easier to men, it seems, just because of how we're raised in our cultures, is just continue to show up. No, I'm here. I'm here. I know who I am. I'm here. So that's one of the gifts that he has given me.
What advice would you give women going into maybe, more of these kind of age gap relationships and sort of entering a world like this? Because, even take the fame aside, right? At 26, when you have a very powerful, already very established man, and that happens a lot, and women do lose themselves.
Yeah.
And from your experience, what would be the things that you would suggest to a woman to help them through those things? Like I always say, okay, have the uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
Yeah. Have the uncomfortable conversations. As I said before, I don't believe that age is just a number. I cannot expect him to be 41. He cannot expect me to be 67, But we can unite through our differences, just as you would unite through differences that any relationship is going to inevitably have with two different people, right? I think as well, I think that we are not supporting characters. We are main characters in our own story. And I think that so many times, I am Alec Baldwin's wife and guest and this. And look, in certain things at a table, I don't care. Like, it's not like I have like zero ego in terms of that. But when you're in your home that can't be. When we are having like, contracts drawn up of like, a job, all the different things that go into it. I don't go into that contract and say, I'm Alec Baldwin and I'm going to get the same things as Alec Baldwin, because I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm his wife, but there is a difference in terms of our jobs and the establishment of our jobs, right? So there's times where we need to see the difference in our identities, but ultimately, when it comes to just our worth in our home and the way that I expect people in our life and he expects people in our life to treat us as equals, that's very important. You say, maybe this person, he or she, is older, but I'm not a supporting character. I'm a main character.
Do you
And
feel
that's the only way.
do you feel like people are a little bit more submissive? I mean, submissive of you, that they just want to get to him?
Not necessarily. I don't, and that for me, I don't, people come up and, you can tell, like he's always like, it's always nerve-wracking for people asking for a photo with him. And in so many years, I don't take photos. I say to them, you want me to get you a photo? I'll take a photo. Give me the camera. And I get them, and I get them to have and that's been something I've learned over the years, because at the beginning I was like, okay, whatever he says, I'm not gonna, like, now I'm like, Alec, take the photo, Alec.
Yeah.
Take the photo. So that part I don't mind to hold the camera, and I mean, I never set off to be, whatever life that I'm living right now. So and I'm the biggest cheerleader for him. No, I don't think that. I think just, I'm I am not here like pull it, like how they like to put for women. You're holding all the strings. You're holding the strings and you're the supporting character, and it's about having, like, that's not how it is.
No.
That's not how it is. We are a team. We are husband and wife. We are we are mother and father. And, he's Alec and I'm Hilaria.
Okay, and just give the girls out there then your self-care routine after all of this madness.
Like, what kind of self-care?
Before you go to bed, when the house is finally
Like
fucking quiet.
a physical self-care.
Like, I am switching off now. My day
I'm
is
switching
over.
off. Oh my God. Well, I wish that I'm better at that in the morning, because I wake up. I'm an early riser. And at night, like, for example, I fell asleep in my clothes next to my daughter and then woke up at 5 o'clock this morning. So that was not a super glamorous, no self-care there. But like in the morning, so I have this Therabody mask.
Ooh.
So first thing I do in the morning is I just put this on. It's like, I think it's like a 9-minute cycle. I do that. I wash my face. I'm really into like washing my like, I put eye drops in to wash my eyes out. Nothing, like, not special eye drops, just to really like rinse everything out. Wash my face. I put on La Bruna, is a face oil, and then I use Ilia, like a tinted SPF. It's really like, there's not a lot to it. Brush my hair. I rinse off really quickly. Have a cup of coffee. I don't have that many things, but this mask is like my one, like, we were laughing because one of my friends who's a couple months older than me and super fabulous. We were together, and like 3 different people on 3 different occasions asked me if I was his mother.
Oh my God.
Now, I know they were all older men trying to pick him up, but I was just like, what is this? And I was like, I don't look old enough to have, even if you look really good, I do not look old enough for that. But he's like, get this mask. So immediately, like, I purchased the mask and I've been doing it for a while. I don't know. I don't know if it makes a difference, but I like it a lot.
I love that, Hilaria. Well, thank you so much for today. You have been amazing. I think everyone is going to really, really be inspired by this podcast.
No, thank you for taking time. I'm very grateful, and I'm proud of you guys. How long have you guys been together?
We have been together 7 years now.
Okay.
So he was 24, I was 43, and it's been a crazy ride, I have to say. He's been through a lot of shit, but we are very, very, very happy now, and it's like been amazing, and my kids are fine. And I can't tell you, I'm a big advocate for age gap relationships, because I think all the things that should pull you apart are actually the things that keep you together.
No, that's really wise. And how old are your kids?
Mine are 19 and 15.
Okay.
Yeah. So once,
Yeah, and to be a step parent, that's a whole.
very hard for him. It's been really, really difficult, but he's got there now. But he really wants a baby.
Oh my God. Oh
So,
my goodness. Well,
well,
you guys would have a very cute baby.
well, we would. You never know. You never say never, as I say. Never say
Never
never.
say never.
Tell
All
everyone
right.
how they can find you, where to watch you, all your brands.
You can find me on TikTok, and I'm new to TikTok, but I am there. And on Instagram, which I'm not as new to Instagram. And, we have our show, The Baldwins. And I was on Dancing with the Stars. I'm going back for the last episode in a couple
Oh my
weeks.
God, how was that? Can't believe I just
Oh my
missed
God,
that.
so fun.
And you're still
It was so
married.
fun.
You're like the only person that's come out of the show with her husband intact.
Still married.
Woohoo!
You know what? I'm really good at being like buddies and friends. Like I grew up with an older brother, so I'm like, my dance partner and I were like, we're so close. We like send memes to each other all day, and we're just very
I always wonder what
like we're
happens
very
in that
broy
room.
together.
Like what happens in that room that
Nothing,
no one comes out
nothing.
with their husbands.
Oh, no, not for me. Not for me. No, no. We are, but I did come out with a very good friend.
Well, that's
We're super
wonderful.
close.
That's so
And we
nice.
send each other lots of like stupid memes all day.
I would be exactly the same as you. I have brothers, and I'm the same. But I can't dance, so I will never be on that show. But I did do
Well,
Traitors. That's coming out any minute. But anyway,
oh, really? Is it
yes. Oh
fun?
my God! If you get the chance, go do it. You
Okay.
would love it. Best experience of my life. Can't tell you anything
Really?
else.
Okay. I'll have to look at it. Dylan Efron, who's on the show with me. He did it. He did
That's
Traders.
amazing.
I
Amazing.
know he loved it. He
Yeah.
loved it. Anyway, all
Lovely
right,
to meet
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Take
I'll talk
care.
to you later.
Thank you, darling.
Bye.
Thank you for not listening to another episode of Uncut and Uncensored with Caroline Stanbury. Don't forget to subscribe.